You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Jim for SDC International Shipping. You are listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to living in another country. And we have another great episode for you today, packed with good information. And I was thinking the other day, this is being released the last Monday of July. Here we are right in the middle, I guess right in the 50% into the summer of 2025. Unless you're making this episode where I'm making it from the state of Florida, where it feels like summer extends into October. But for most people, we're in the middle of summer and the fall kind of sort of begins in September. But anyway, I was thinking about what can we talk about today, and the title of this episode, at least the working title, is going to be What If Something Goes Wrong? And I want to talk about insurance as it relates to international moves. Now, insurance is just one of those things that has been in the news lately. Now, if you live in a state where, for example, the floods of North Carolina, the damage from the hurricanes here in Florida, the damage to the homes being burnt to the ground in the Palisades in California, all of those things touch that topic of insurance. Can you imagine not having any insurance at all and having your home burned to the ground? Well, most people, I'm not sure how many homeowners have a mortgage and how many don't, but either way, most people have, even if they own their home, outright insurance. Of course, here in Florida, there are issues with insurance and the cost of that insurance being so high that it makes it prohibitive. It's almost like buying your house a second time. And some people are self-insuring at this point. But the topic of insurance comes up right after people experience something going wrong. It can be an all-out disaster, like I had just mentioned, or it can be something minor or anywhere in between. Now, there are very real concerns, very real questions, and of course the strategies to address those concerns and questions when we're talking about the topic of international relocation. And a lot of this involves insurance. Now, 99% of the time, I'm not sure what the actual percentage is, but it's very, very, very high. You can go from here in the United States of America, I don't care whether you're leaving from the East Coast, the West Coast, or somewhere in between, whether you're leaving from the North or the South, you can have a stress-free journey from point A to point B. Now, point B may be in Europe, in the UK, it might be in Asia, it can be on the continent of Africa, it could be in Australia, wherever you're going. When we're talking about significant distances, the technology involved, the processes have been time tested. They're better than ever. Your items are safer than ever. But yet, we would be remiss to say that it's impossible, that nothing will ever go wrong. Things happen. They happen to the most careful, laid plans of men. You know, if you've been alive for any length of time, you know sometimes just the unexpected happens. And so let's talk about that as it touches our topic of moving internationally. I mean, everybody can relate to their home and insuring maybe the contents of their home or insuring their home. In a lot of ways, when you think about it, your home serves multiple purposes, right? It's supposed to keep you safe from outside elements, but sometimes those elements are just so powerful, in the case of a hurricane or a fire, that it's only able to do that up to a point. And then a loss is incurred, sometimes loss of everything. And it's terrible because even though that people are very generous here in the U.S., there's organizations, there's individuals that will lend a hand, there's rescue workers, everybody gets involved trying to help those who are most affected. But after the cameras move on to something else, after that topic has been all talked out, I guess you could say, as far as media goes, even social media, the lives of those people are still affected moving forward for sometimes years to come. Sometimes things are never quite the same. People have to build over again. And this is where insurance may not be the fix all. I mean, sometimes certain things have sentimental value. It's not a matter of replacing a couch or replacing your office equipment or all of the things that we are part of our daily lives. Sometimes maybe it was a photo album or an antique desk that was handed down through several generations. Those things can be irreplaceable. Memories, things like that, photographs, whether they're digital or paper, whatever they are, they're usually stored on some kind of a device. Sometimes those devices aren't backed up, and in the case of a disaster, again, things can be lost. Now, when everything that you own is being put into a shipping container, whether we're talking about minor scratches or the loss of an entire container, international moving insurance is a safety net that, God forbid, the worst of the worst happens and something does go wrong, can make all the difference. People sometimes wonder, how do I protect my life's belongings when I'm traveling across oceans and borders? And so we'll unpack all of that today. One of the things I used to do way back when I used to travel was I would have, I forgot even what they're called. It's kind of like money, but traveler's checks. I would use traveler's checks because if they were lost or stolen, it wasn't like cash, where then I would just be out of luck. I would have to resort to some type of backup emergency plan. I used traveler's checks, but again, that was my strategy when I was on the road. So when it comes to moving internationally, likewise, there are strategies that you can put in place that, God forbid, something happen, that you have a backup plan in place. So again, let's look at the reality of the situation. When you're moving overseas, there's the logistic part of it. But then on the other side, right alongside of that, there's also the personal part of that. Every item that you're bringing with you has to have some type of meaning or value, or else you would have sold it or given it away or one of those things. Maybe it's, your children's favorite toys. Maybe it's kitchenware that you've collected over the years, heirlooms that have been passed down for generations. And now you can kind of visualize this. You've carefully planned the entire move. You've chosen the right international movers, hopefully us, STC International Shipping. You have a checklist. You've confirmed your new address abroad. Everything is going well. But when the belongings arrive, something's off. You notice a box is missing, or you notice a table leg is snapped. Or worse, you get there and something unexpected happened and your container never made it off the ship. I'm talking about these like these are hypothetical situations, but over the years, they've happened. And unfortunately, as rare as it is, they continue to happen. I call it drawing the short straw. That's how I look at it, right? If you have a bunch of people and you're going to draw straws to see who's going to do the thing that nobody wants to do, if you draw the short straw, then you're the one that ends up doing it. Likewise, I use that illustration in life. Sometimes things are going to go wrong. 1 out of 100 people may experience it, and if that happens to be you, you've drawn the short straw. Now, in 2021, I know I've read about this, global shipping delays and container mishandling surged during the pandemic and during the supply chain bottlenecks. And while most shipments arrived slowly, it's crucial to plan for that 1 in 1,000 case where things don't go as expected. Here's what most people don't realize. International shipping involves multiple transfers of custody. Your belongings are handled by packers, they're handled by port workers, they're handled by customs agents, warehouse teams, and delivery crews. Each of those points of touch is an opportunity for damage, for loss, or for something to go wrong, especially without proper packing and documentation. And then there's natures. We've all seen the videos of storm-tossed cargo ships or damaged port facilities. These are rare, but they still do exist. They are real risks. Now, if you're thinking, well, my stuff's not really worth that much, you really have to think again. The value isn't just monetary, it's also emotional, it's practical. In some cases, that emotional part makes certain things irreplaceable. I mean, imagine trying to replace your antiques or your furniture in a new country where costs are higher or product sizes differ from the US standard. And so, yeah, people have a right to be aware of this and should be. And the great thing about all the above is there's a solution. This is where international moving insurance steps in. So STC can help you sleep better at night. We can explain the insurance options to you. You can work with an expert, relocation expert, and they will explain all of the insurance options available to you, from the most expensive to the least expensive and everything in between for your specific situation. So we can look at two just types of primary insurance policies. There's more, of course. You can basically ship and insure whatever you want, as much or as little as you want. But let's look at two individual types of insurances. There's total loss insurance, and there's something called all risk cargo insurance. Let's break those down quickly. Excuse me. Now, total loss insurance is exactly what it sounds like. It covers you only if your entire shipment is lost or destroyed. Now, this could happen if a container falls into the sea. It could happen if a container catches fire. It can happen if the container is stolen. While these are extremely rare events, they have and do occur. So this type of insurance is generally the most affordable, but it's also limited. If a few boxes are damaged or a few items are stolen, you won't be covered. It's all or nothing. On the other hand, all risk cargo insurance is basically like the gold standard. This is comprehensive coverage that protects your goods from the point of origin to the final destination. If your dining table gets scratched, or if your TV screen is cracked, or a few boxes get wet during the loading, you're covered. Here's an important caveat here. For all risk insurance to apply, your belongings must be professionally packed. Now, that doesn't matter what international moving service you use. In this case, let's talk about STC's trained international movers. They would have to professionally pack your items for those items to be insured. And this is because insurance providers require a documented packing process to ensure proper material was used and everything has been condition verified. So if the STC team handles the packing, they're going to use international grade cartons, international grade wood and crating. Every item will be itemized. Every piece, a detailed inventory list is created. And that's a requirement, not just for insurance, but also for customs clearance. And that inventory becomes the basis for your coverage. You'll then declare the replacement value for each item in your destination country, not what it costs in the US, but what it would cost to replace abroad. And that's powerful, especially when moving to countries with a higher import tax or taxes or cost of living differences. So what option should you choose? Well, if you're only sending a few items with a minimal value, then total loss may be sufficient. But if you're moving your entire household, things that are very valuable, then all risk would be a smarter choice. And so during your consultation, again, you're going to work with somebody who is an expert at this. They can help you decide. They can give you a quotation. And just remember, insurance is optional, but we strongly recommend it. Because we do everything in our power to ensure a flawless move, you just have to recognize that no matter who you work with, sometimes, unfortunately, accidents still do happen. All right, so let's talk about a plan, a simple 3-step plan for securing the right kind of international moving insurance. So once you've connected, let's say, with a relocation specialist here at STC International Shipping, they're going to ask you all kinds of questions about your shipment, about the location, times, dates, all of that. Where are you moving to? What are you shipping? What is the general value of your items? And then from there, you'll be walked through your options, both total loss and all risk insurance options. Everything's going to be explained to you, what's covered, what's not, and what policy makes the most sense for your needs. There isn't anything like a pushy sales tactic, just a clear, honest guideline that you can use, because you want to be confident whatever type of decision you're going to make, that you're making the one that's right for you and not being pushed into it. So the next step is to help you prepare a complete detailed inventory list. And this is really important, not just for the insurance purposes, but also for customs clearance. And when you have this list, you can actually see all of your items. You'll know what they're valued at. You'll know their approximate replacement cost when considering your insurance options. You'll itemize everything that's going to be shipped. The values, again, are assigned to each of them based on the replacement cost in the destination country, and then you sign off on the total declared value. Now, if you're not sure what something is worth overseas, you can get help with that also. At STC, they've already moved thousands of families worldwide, and they understand the pricing differences across the various countries. The goal is to make this step feel seamless, not overwhelming. Next, let STC or whoever you choose do all of the packing and the heavy lifting. If you choose all risk insurance, remember that professional packing is required, and that's not just a policy condition, it's best for your overall protection. Because when you work with professional packers, they're going to use materials approved for international transit. They understand what customs expectations are for how things are packed and how things are labeled. Custom crates will be built for fragile or high value items when needed. Everything's going to be photographed, labeled, and logged, so you'll get the full documentation of your shipment, which becomes crucial if a claim ever needs to be filed. And then once your items are packed and your inventory is finalized, then you go through the process of your insurance documents, the preparation of your shipment, and the transport is coordinated. And from that point on, you're protected. So that's it. You choose what you're going to do. You're going to take care of the inventory. From there, everything is going to be written down, and then finally everything is packed. So there are 3 basic steps. Let me go over those again. The first one is you're going to be aware of what types of insurance coverages are available. Then your inventory list is going to be completed, and then you can choose which type of insurance is going to be applied based on your inventory. Then from there, everything is going to be packed, and all the heavy lifting is going to be done for you. Recently, I read stories from 2 expats, individuals who made the journey from here in the United States over to the UK, and another was going to Spain, and they perfectly illustrate the point that I'm talking about with insurance. One was a story of success, and one, unfortunately, was a story of failure. But briefly, one woman was moving from Los Angeles to Madrid with her husband and 2 kids, and she was talking about they packed up their whole 3-bedroom home, furniture, kitchen, clothes, electronics, even a grand piano. And she went with all risk cargo insurance and let the professionals do all of the packing. The inventory was thorough, the documentation was complete. And then when the shipment arrived in Spain, a small issue occurred. A wooden dresser had a scratch, noticeable scratch on one leg, likely during the unloading. So Sarah documented it immediately, And because her shipment was insured and professionally packed, her claim was processed and she received the compensation for someone to come out and do a full repair on the scratched leg. And so all of the stress was avoided. She had peace of mind. And so that's an example of when it benefits you to have your items that are valuable to you covered. Then there was another story that I read about a man, I think his name was Daniel. He was relocating from my home state in New Jersey, going to Dublin, Ireland. And to save money, he decided to self-pack and he declined insurance. Now, I can relate to Daniel. I'll tell you about that story before we conclude today's episode. But everything was going well until customs found that his packaging didn't meet international standards. A few boxes were damaged due to poor materials that he used, and worse yet, some items weren't clearly documented. So he had no basis for a damage claim, and one box didn't even make it off the ship. It was lost, and so he had to cover the loss himself. The replacement costs in Ireland were higher than in the U.S., and then he said he had to deal with the stress that went along with the customs issues, and he said the whole transition, that whole time was miserable. And he said just to save a few dollars, he should have just paid it, and he said we'd never make that mistake again. So you can see the moral of the story, right? Skipping insurance might have saved some money up front, but the risk and what it cost you on the back end in terms of time and money and peace of mind can be a lot higher than you've expected. Now, me personally, I've been one of those people that have gambled against insurance my whole life because my thinking always went like this. My thinking was the insurance companies are gambling that nothing's going to happen to you, right? I mean, if things happen to more people than not, then they wouldn't have a viable business model. So you're paying and they're hoping that, again, they're gambling that they're never going to have to pay out for you. And if you do, then your insurance premiums go up. And so most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, I wouldn't have any type of extra insurance. Just the basic things came with. So I wouldn't buy extended policies on anything. If I was buying electronics, when I was paying for them, they would always say, hey, would you like a 3-year extended insurance? I would say, no, 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 no. And so that happened on everything that I bought for most of my life. Well, recently, I had an older vehicle, and I decided, you know what, I don't even want to. I bought the vehicle. I just want to have the minimal coverage on it. It was an older vehicle, looked really nice, a Honda, and just using it for driving around town. And I decided not to put collision on it because I'm a good driver. I haven't been in an accident in years. Well, let me tell you about what happened. It was about 5 o'clock at night, and I had called in an order to go pick up for dinner. I was backing out of my driveway, and across the street from me, my neighbor's father, who happened to be parked on the grass for whatever reason, I think they had quite a few visitors over at the time, was also backing out. We were heading in opposite directions, and so as we pulled out into the street, backing out into the street, I was in his blind spot and he was in mine. And we basically rear-ended one another. So we got out of the car and we took a look at what damage was done. No damage was done to the back end of his car, but the way they hit, and the angle they hit, my trunk was pushed in. The hatch was pushed in a little bit and I wasn't able to open it. So we didn't want to go through the whole insurance thing. And I mean, technically it was both of our faults. And so that was one of those situations. And so a few days later, I decided to go and take it to a few local body shops. And the cost of replacing the damage was basically replacing the door. Nobody wanted to just fix the part that was damaged. Basically, they wanted to order a new hatch and then paint it, put brand new window on the back, all of that from A to Z. And so the cost was, I believe, around $4,100, $4,200 just for the door, just for the back hatch. And so, that was kind of ridiculous, especially for an older vehicle. Thankfully, I brought it to several places to get other estimates, and I finally found one that was willing to fix it. without replacing the door, and so it cost a fraction of that. However, during the initial process of breaking the door down, inside the door where you have the covering that covers up all the mechanical parts of it, it's like that plastic piece. Because it was an older vehicle, when they pulled it off, all the tabs broke, and so they couldn't replace it with that same part. They had to buy a new one, which pushed up the price a little bit higher. And so the bottom line is I went ahead, got everything fixed. A matter of fact, I'm bringing this up because I'm actually going to pick up the vehicle today. It's supposed to be done today. And this is one of the reasons why insurance was on my mind. But a few days ago, I decided to look up and see, well, how much would it have cost to insure this older vehicle to have collision put on it? And I hate to say it, but the price was minimal. The price was minimal. I think like $100 a year, $102 a year, not for 6 months, for the whole year. More is what it would have come to. And, for that, what is that, an extra $10, not even $10 a month over 12 months. And so just for that little extra peace of mind. So this is the first time it wasn't that I haven't been in accidents before, but the accidents were always the other person's fault. And even though I had insurance on these vehicles in the past, at the time that I experienced those accidents, it was the other insurance company for the other driver that had to pay out. I had never been in an accident before where it could be considered, my fault or no fault, as some states have. So it's just one of those things. You don't think it's going to happen. You can go through the rest of your life and it never happened, or you can make it years and years and years, and then there is that one time. So when we're talking about making an international journey that's thousands and thousands of miles, I think this is the one time where, all things considered, it is definitely worth considering insuring anything that has any kind of real value or real worth. And that way you have that extra peace of mind. You know that if you get into a quote-unquote fender bender, like I did, that you're not going to have to pay thousands of dollars to have that repaired. And putting it in international moving terms, you're not going to have to dig deep into replacing all of the things that were damaged. Or it's just amazing how much it costs to fix something. In the story that I told you about the furniture, the scratch in the furniture, how much would it cost to fix a scratch in furniture? You may be surprised. I know basically there's people that can fix almost anything, but what they charge for fixing that thing today in 2025 versus what they may have charged even 5 years ago can be like the difference between night and day. So, all right, well, there you have it. If you're planning an international move, go ahead, get the insurance that makes the most sense for you, and don't get caught with being off guard. You can contact SDC International Shipping. You can speak to a relocation expert about anything having to do with your upcoming move, or maybe you're just in the planning stages right now. You can visit the main website at www.sdcinternationalshipping.com. You can call us at 877-339-0267 and talk with someone live there. If you're moving to the UK or Spain or Australia, I think that if you've listened to the last several episodes, you know that we actually have brand new relocation sites built for those specific moves. So for example, if you're going to the UK, you can check out our UK website. That's located at www.movefromusatouk.com. That's movefromusatouk.com. Our Spanish website, if you're moving to Spain, it's written in English, not Spanish, but if you're moving to Spain, you can check out our new website for that move. It's located at movertospain.com. That's mover, M-O-V-E-R, to Spain.com. Our Australia website, very similar, except it's movers to Australia. Movers to Australia, movers with an S.com. You might say, well, why didn't you just buy both of them with either the S or without the S? Believe it or not, they weren't available. So we got what was available. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast episode. This is Jim. Take care, and I'll talk to you later. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.